Welcome back to the Vasudha Madaan Show. And today we are going to harness the editorial leader, Vishesh Prakash. Vishesh is with us here right now. Hi, Vishesh. Good morning.
Hi, Vasudha. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're most welcome to the Vasudha Madaan Show.
I have been seeing some of your episodes, Vasudha, and it's really great that it has something both for the emerging young leaders as well as for leaders who are established. It gives them a different point of view. So, an absolute honor to be here.
Wow, thank you so much, Vishesh. On that note, let me tell our audience a little bit about you. Friends, Vishesh is a editorial leader. So, what do I mean when I say he's an editorial leader? So, basically, Vishesh has had a super successful stint with top news making news leaders of the country. He's gonna tell it all himself in a while. So with news making and story reporting giants of the country, now he has forayed, he stepped into his own baby, his own enterprise, and that's called The Story People. And The Story People is all about telling the stories. So it's a transition from making the stories to telling the stories. Right, Vishesh?
Absolutely, Vasudha. It's being at the end of on both sides of the table, right? So, in the earlier part of my career, it was more about reporting stories. It was more about being at the spot, telling the readers what the story is. And at the other part, now we are the story. We are the stories people.
Wow. And I would then call you the weaver of words. That's what comes
Well,
to my mind.
that's a part of our job. I think as content people, I think we have to, reach out to the audience. We have to, catch their attention. We have to bring a smile to their faces. And I think words are the best way to do that, to create an association and to create a connect.
Amazing. What you said is really well said. And we are living in the times and age where content is really the king. And there's nothing like your content adding value while creating the smiles, because both the things are so missing and so needed for a happy society.
Completely, Vasudha. It's very important, especially in times of in the times that we live in, because there is so much of content floating around. There is so much of conversation happening that we provide meaningful content, we provide happiness, we provide positivity, and we provide people with a certain level of intelligence that they can use to make a difference to their lives.
Wow, beautiful. Uh, so, before I get going further, let's talk a little bit about your journey. And when I say journey, I'm not just talking about your professional journey. I would like you to share your personal journey. How intertwined are your personal and professional journey so far?
Uh, pretty much intertwined. Uh, you know, uh, when I started, so a very I consider myself lucky that when I was in my school, I got into playing sport. I used to play badminton, both at the state level and at the national level. And I think that was the biggest teacher for me. Now that I look back at my journey, playing badminton and being a part of a team was something that really set me up for some of the good things that I was able to do, later on in life. I started, on the professional front, I started with the Indian Express. I was with them. I used to cover sports. Then I moved over to the India Today group. I was working on a couple of magazines that they had at that time. And then I moved to the biggest and the most respected media house in the country, which is the Times Group. I was with them for a couple of decades and some more, and heading their special supplements division. I think at the Times Group, I got this opportunity to marry both the facets. The team building aspect, the motivating your co-workers, especially the youngsters in your team aspect, to learning the tricks of the trade, and sort of getting to connect with the audience. I think that's where I got a lot of my learnings from. I grew within the organization. I sort of, was able to understand, that you have to be quick, you have to be on your feet, you have to be moving along with the mindset of the leaders so that they're always able to relate to you. And a couple of years ago, I branched out. I sort of started this company called the Stories People, and the whole idea was that there is a story in all of us. I think when I met you, you're a great story, right? And it's a story which needs to be told. I think I meet every day. I'm lucky to meet so many people who are such brilliant stories themselves. And I think we, as at the Stories People, want to tell those stories to the world, and that's what we are setting out to do.
Beautiful. So, okay, that's about your professional journey. And what about your personal journey? Because you've done literature, right? You've done your higher studies in literature, and the generation we belong to, I think we discussed this when we met also. So the generation we belong to, taking up literature, especially for boys, even for women, it was considered कि शायद कुछ करना नहीं है इनको. So you took up literature. How did that happen, and how has it helped you?
So I will tell you, two things about that. One is that I never regret taking literature. Okay, though I was not driven as, not even half driven as some of the youngsters today. I frankly didn't know what I wanted to do when I was selecting my college course. A large part of why I chose literature and I really loved it, it was because of precisely this reason. We had got some 60 odd ladies in the class and some 3 or 4 boys. It was a very good experience. We had a good time. And
Okay.
unknowingly, it sort of gave me a peek into the world of women. Okay. And I think,
Interesting.
I, understood. And so
Uh-huh.
I've always had a great working relationship with all ladies. Okay, so my time at the college showed me and taught me how to respect them, how to disagree with them, even when you're
Very
respecting them,
important. It's a huge art to disagree
right?
with dangerous also.
And yet, so if you give them respect, and if they don't doubt your intentions, if they don't think that you're putting them down, I think they listen to you. And I've
Yes.
had some great associations. Some of my colleagues, some of my lady colleagues, have been immensely talented. And I like to tell them all the time that they've done the hard work, and I have reaped the rewards. Not to say that the men have not been exceptional, but yes, if I was to put a percentage, I can frankly, honestly say that the percentage of women has been much higher, much higher. So I started with that. I think literature taught me to look at the world from different perspectives.
But
I think that is the sure.
I want all the women colleagues or your bosses who work with you hear this.
They hear it all the time, and I'm sure when this comes out,
I
I'm going
want
to
them to
tag
hear it
them.
on, yes, on this
True.
podcast also. How beautifully you have acknowledged them, their beauty at workplace.
Completely. I'm honored to have worked with them for such a long time and to have learned from them, whether they were my bosses or whether they were my. I don't like to use the word subordinate, junior colleagues or whatever. I just call them my younger colleagues, and I have learned from them all the time.
I am not a sexist, Vishesh, but what you said, I think very few men would say it. And that's something I so respect. What you've just said, I really respect it. And I really want a lot of men out there to imbibe already. I think you've already even put so much value in this morning. So I want all of them to actually imbibe this and work with women bosses or women colleagues with a different mindset and a different attitude.
Completely. I think so. Okay, I'm deviating from it, but I think I need to say it. I think if you invest honestly in the women colleagues at work, okay, I think the learning is immense because they are the most selfless managers. they're the most selfless co-workers, and they give their best. I think that's what we want from all our workforce, and they are an integral part of any workforce today.
Wherever this conversation is going.
Great. And let me try and sort of connect this to the simple fact that I've had amazing women in my family, and it pretty much stems from there. So my mom, has been a working woman throughout. And yes, while I was very young, we used to feel that at that time they were not mostly women were homemakers. So you do felt that you missed your mom. But I think the moment you grow up a little, you start taking pride in the fact that your mother is working, and she's sort of an independent woman, and people look up to her. And that continued. My sister got into university teaching, and my better half, literally, was somebody I met at India Today group. We decided, to sort of get together. We got married. She got into teaching at a later stage, but again, a very strong influence on my life. So it's basically stemming from there.
Shows the way you poured yourself, invested yourself in not shrugging off the women co-workers, rather investing in them. It the place you're coming from, your value system simply reflects there beautifully. Something which is very inspiring, especially in today's environment where there's a lot of talk about equalities going on. So I'll not go there, but this I love the place this conversation is going right now.
Awesome. So I will just quickly say this about English literature and the role it's played. I
Right.
think when you're covering a story, Vasudha, there is no right, there is no wrong. There are only viewpoints. Okay, so English literature taught me that. It taught me to look at any situation, any happening from various perspectives, and then look at judging itself. And that really helped me both in my journalism career and today as I get into entrepreneurship. It's something which has really helped, because now I'm able to look at the same situation from multiple perspectives, and that's very empowering. Something that I think all of us need to do, especially in today's day and age where it's just black and white. Okay, and you're just taking sides without understanding the other side. It's very important. And if I may tell your audience, that we are working on, while we were talking for this, we were working on something which narrates or which propagates this whole view of having your own view and yet respecting another person's view. So that's something which is coming up soon, guys, with Vasudha.
Yes. 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 Okay. So, Vishesh, we are at a leadership podcast. Yeah. So naturally, I want to know, what does leadership mean to you?
So Vasudha, that's a very very interesting question for me. I think leadership is about followership. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so
Okay.
when you're a leader, okay, and I
Huh.
tell this to I've told this innumerable number of times to my team and to my friends.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
there are two ways you can lead.
All
Okay,
right.
one is to stand right in the front and inspire others to follow you, and inspire others to walk at your pace. And the second is to stand right at the back. Okay,
Hmm.
and sort of from there inspire people to be the
Hmm.
best they can be, and make
Hmm.
sure that nobody is left behind. And
Hmm.
for me, leadership is a mix of both these. For me, leadership, when you start off in your career, is about being in the front. And then when you hit the time where it's not just important for you to perform individually, it's important for the
Hmm.
team. At that
Hmm.
time, make the change and get right to the back. Okay,
Hmm.
and the idea is to take as many people along and as many people to sort of perform better, and then you're an effective leader. So that's leadership for me in a nutshell.
Wow. I that leaves me that's given me a lot to kind of reflect on. Yeah. Uh Vishesh, tell me, how do you define success in context to your work, along
Okay,
with
in
leadership, along with your leadership position, and of course, without it also?
so success to me today is basically being happy in your skin.
Hmm.
Success to me today is basically, you know, if you can work 27 hours in a day,
Hmm.
feel dead
You
tired,
said 27 hours.
correct, and be dead tired, and
That's
yet get up
huh.
the next day in the morning and
Uh-huh.
looking forward to your day. I think that
Okay.
is success. You've got to really enjoy what you're doing. You've got to really, make a difference to people around you, whether
Hmm.
it's your partners. And again, I don't use the word clients. Okay, I don't like the word clients, so I always call them our partners. So whether it's your partners are happy with what you're doing, if it's giving them that kind of satisfaction, or whether it's our team. I
Hmm.
think if you're happy doing what you're doing, and if you're not getting tired even when you're
Hmm.
bone tired, okay,
Hmm.
that is success for me. And if
That's
you
good.
know, and if you I'm sure and we discussed this, I don't count money as a yardstick of success.
Hmm.
I think money is a spoiler in terms of how you judge your success. Like I often say, to I have a very dear friend. We have this conversation. His name is Ajit Menon. Okay, he is an inspiring story for me because he was one of the top HR people in the country. Okay, he was head of various big companies that we've heard of, and then he decided to move away and start writing stories. Okay, so he wrote his first novel, and it's doing great. He's coming out with five more. But what's more important for me is I was asking him. I said, Ajit, you've left all this and you got into starting, writing stories, right? And a lot of people will say, oh, I mean, what about the money? And we
Yes.
agreed. Okay, nobody's made money writing books. Okay, but
Yes.
nobody's
Ask
been
me.
happier. Talk to the
Ask me.
authors, correct, right? But nobody's been happier. Ask the authors, right? And they will
Yes.
tell you that
And
it's been
I
amazing
can
things.
I will do it 100 times again in this lifetime.
True. Now try measuring that happiness or putting a value to that happiness against the value of the money that you might have earned in the meantime. Okay,
True.
and
Money
just
is
choose
so
them.
overrated. Money is so overrated when it comes to
True.
success.
True. So I think money is important, but yes, you can't define success by it. Absolutely not.
Yeah. So, okay, so this is success for you in general sense, in the sense of life. So, when it comes to the stories people, what is the definition of success when it comes to exactly in relation to the stories people? आपके लिए सक्सेस क्या है? टीएसपी के लिए सक्सेस क्या है?
So when we started the stories, people, we were in this dilemma. I was coming off after a 2.5 decades of association with the media. Okay, and we wanted to understand who we were. So we went through the whole process, right? Initially, we said we were a content agency. Then we said we were a digital agency. Some people asked us, "Are you doing PR?" So we said, "Okay, we are doing PR." Okay, and then sort of in the clutter, we realized that actually who we are is defined by two words. Okay, which is meaningful conversations. Okay,
Wow.
so success for TSP is that if any partner were to come to us and say, listen, this is what we want to do. Okay, so suppose somebody came and said that, listen, we are a hospitality brand and we want to do something vis-a-vis, hospitality industry. Okay, for us, the success will be defined by how much of meaning can we create around that conversation. Because if you were to just go to Google and just go to Insta or just go to Facebook or any other platform and just type hospitality, you will have millions and millions and millions of conversations happening. how do you make it meaningful? How do you make it stick in the minds of the people? How do you, like I said, how do you bring a smile to people's faces? Because when we smile at something, we are more likely to retain it for longer. And I think that's the success we at TSP, go for, where people associate with us, they engage with us, and then they go back thinking, oh, that was an interesting conversation, or I didn't look at it like that. I have been scrolling through my Insta reels for 5 months, and I've not come across this perspective. I think if we can do that, we are very happy, and we feel that that's success for us.
Success. And yes, we are living in the social media age, no matter what. So, meaningful content is something which is very, very important to construct our lives, even if it's entertainment. I think it has to be meaningful entertainment, because there are a lot of there's a lot of random stuff which is being put out there today, and it is definitely creating an imbalance in the society. गलत चीजों को हम ठीक समझ रहे हैं, ठीक सी चीजों को हम गलत समझ रहे हैं. So it's very important to look at things in the right perspective, and like you said in your last answer, looking at things with various perspectives, and I think that is what gives meaning. So that's a beautiful thing. All the best to TSP for what it is doing. To me, it sounds more like a mission than just a success story. So, with that, let me just move on to ask you another question. I'm so eager to hear your answer on this as well, your views on this as well. So, how do you navigate through challenging times, Vishesh? And how has understanding yourself helped you navigate through those challenging times?
So I will say that, when I look at challenging times, one, you can look at challenges as an obstacle that you're going to hit against and push against, or you look at challenges as an obstacle which, once you cross and you look back, you feel happy that I was able to scale this. Okay.
Right.
I think when you begin with looking at an obstacle that, okay, I've come across this, now how do I beat it? Get over to the other side and then look back and feel happy. You've solved half the problem. The
Right.
second thing about challenging, obstacles or looking at challenges is, I think you've got to be inspired in the whole power of humans, by which I mean my colleagues, right? So I've had a couple of colleagues when they've sort of left for greener pastures, they've moved on to work in other industries. Okay, I think there is no challenge which can't be tackled. Okay, no challenge. Okay, you can think of the biggest challenge, and you can break it down. You can surmount it. Okay, it only depends on, one, your willingness to go head on. Two, the kind of people you have with you, the kind of workforce you have. Okay, and then there is, so how I look at it, Vasudha, is a very simple way. Okay, I look at, in a team, when a challenge is facing us, I look at who's the best person to do a best thing to tackle the challenge. It's not like, okay, if you have a senior person, then he needs to go first. No, who is the right guy to tackle that particular problem? You put that person up, break down the hierarchy, okay, and don't make it a single person sport. Make it a team sport, okay.
Break
And
down
that's
the
how I approach it.
hierarchy.
You have to break down the hierarchy. So it's not, so if the challenge is in bowling to a batsman who's very well set, and I keep on giving cricketing, examples, the challenge is to surprise the batsman. Sometimes your most uh, unlikely bowler will come in and take the wicket. So you don't have to look at, you don't have to look at creating stars within the team. You have to look at creating people who are best at dealing with the particular challenge that you're dealing with. And that's what I feel has worked for me the most.
Awesome. So you just said something you said there are no obstacles that cannot be challenged. Oh, sorry, that cannot be tackled, right?
Correct.
So,
Totally.
on that note, it's just, I cannot stop myself from asking. Um, I don't know what you're gonna say. I really want to know what are your fears or any doubts professionally. So, does that mean you have, uh, does that mean there are no doubts, no fears? I mean, what does this mean?
So, Vasudha, anybody who said that there are no doubts, there are no fears, okay, however confidently they say it, they are lying. Okay.
Yes, I
Everyone
want
has fears.
to,
Yeah.
Vishesh, I want to know the truth. How do you do this? I automatically, this is the thought which just hits me when you said that.
True. So see, please. So when I say that no challenge is there's no challenge which can't be tackled. Okay,
Hmm.
it's clearly linking to my fear. Okay, my
Right.
fear is that at my workplace or what I'm doing, the day I get bored, the day there's a very fancy term for it, right? So a lot of people say, oh, I can do all my work. It's almost muscle memory, right? I think that's my fear. If I reach that stage where I'm doing things on muscle memory, I think that's my fear. So let me give you a quick example. When I started on the sports desk, okay, of Indian Express. Then I moved to the Express Newsline, which was where I was doing crime for some time. Okay, and then I moved to covering the information technology. So in 2000s, IT was the buzzword, right? Where everybody
Hmm.
wanted to cover IT. Then I was doing youth for a bit. So I quickly realized that I could not do one thing. Okay, I didn't see myself as retiring and doing only one thing. Because it would have pretty much become muscle memory. Okay,
Hmm.
and I would have been bored. So when sort of at the Times of India, when we started the whole special supplements team, the whole
Hmm.
idea was to do something different. The whole idea was, so you could be doing real estate one day, you could be doing education another day, you could be doing hospitality, you could be doing business. And so, like, I mentioned, right, one just Italian food or just North Indian food is not for me. I'm more like a thali guy, right? I want, like, and it shows in my weight that I've put on. But I like eating a lot of different things, and that's what excites me. So I think if you are somebody who wants to do different things, who wants to, so I'll give you an example, right? Till about 1 month ago, we were doing some very, serious, meaningful content engagements. We're running a contest which is along, encouraging young writers in India to write on the whole, short story genre, right? And then 1 month ago, we came across this opportunity where we've got this league happening, the UP T20 league happening. Okay, and suddenly we were like, okay, let's so one of the teams, the Kanpur Superstars, wanted us to do their whole communication and talk about them, right? So my team was like, from there to cricket, what are we doing? And I said, let's enjoy it. And we're having a ball of a time. We are enjoying interacting with the players. We are talking to the crowd. We are running contests. We are just having a ball. So I think my fear at a professional level is that I will sit one day in my chair in the morning and say, okay, anything and everything that I need to do today, I will do on muscle memory, to use that fancy term. And that is going to be the most boring, and I fear that day the most.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the signs of being a highly creative person. I have observed all highly creative people can't stay at one place, and the only thing which scares them in life is boredom.
True.
Okay,
I
so
don't know whether I'm a highly creative person, but I'm on the latter. I agree with you. Boredom scares me completely.
you are one. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So moving on to our next question. So how do you maintain this level of self-awareness? Pata hona that I am a thali guy or I'm scared of getting bored. it's all a matter of very delicate sense of self-awareness. So how do you maintain this self-awareness? Do you have any hack or something on an everyday basis? Because all said and done, I know reaching out to you and finally doing this final podcast has taken a lot of time. So I know there's a lot of hustle bustle happening behind the scenes in your world. So professionally, so how do you maintain? When do you get time to actually understand so much about you and your surroundings?
So there are two things, Vasudha, I'd like to tell you. The first is being self-aware. I
Hmm.
think you have to really not take yourself very seriously. I think
Well,
that's the most critical thing. If you can
hmm.
laugh at yourself, if you
Hmm.
can figure out your quirks and make
Hmm.
fun of them yourself, okay,
Hmm.
I think that is the beginning of self-awareness.
Wow.
Okay, so I make the distinction between self-awareness and self promotion. Okay,
Ah,
being
tell
self
us,
so
what is
being
it?
self-aware, so being self-aware is about knowing your weaknesses first, knowing your strengths after that, and then sort of being happy in your skin without projecting anything. I think that for
Right.
me is the key. So
Right.
you whatever you
Agree.
want, you don't have to project it for anyone. You once you are comfortable, okay, you are doing good. Okay, that's one aspect that I must look at. The second aspect that I always sort of tell, and I've gone by it in my life, is that when you're taking yourself sort of you connect better with people when you don't take yourself seriously. You connect better with people when you're able to come to a level where you give them the confidence that they can laugh at you as much as you can laugh at them or at them. Okay, that's when the real learning happens. I think you have to, as a leader, be not looking down upon people. Okay, you have to take them to a level where you're able to look up to them. And I think that's the bit about self-awareness that you have to create. Self-awareness is not something to make you stand in the driver's seat. Self-awareness is for you to be in the conductor's seat and tell the whole bus that I'm here, you guys get to your destination, and I will maneuver you there.
Vishesh, you have so seamlessly transitioned while talking from being self-aware, from self-awareness to, I would say, higher awareness, when you just said that it's about not looking down on people. Um, that's a little beyond self-awareness. That's called, I look at this as higher awareness. Awesome. Okay. So, so how has this understanding contributed to your successful leadership?
So, yes, if I was to look at the first 2 years, Vasudha, I
Hmm.
would say that out of the entire 25, 26 years that I've been working, the
Hmm.
first 2 years is where I had to do the manual labor and the hard work.
Hmm.
Okay, and then I still remember, at the Times Group, uh, we were doing some local newspapers.
Hmm.
Okay, and I was doing two of them,
Hmm.
and then I was asked to do four, and I was asked to do eight, and it was an exponential growth, right? So I went up to our director, and I
Yes.
told him, I said, boss, it's not possible. I can't do two. From two, I can't go on to four. From four, I can't go on to six.
Hmm.
And he told me, he says, if you can do one at 100%, I would rather have you do 20 at 60%. Okay.
Wow.
Now, I'm not a numbers guy, but I think the numbers guys will understand it much better. But I understood that part, and I started actively developing a team of people who would understand my mind, who would understand what we were setting out to do, and
Hmm.
who would in time become like a core group for me, and
Hmm.
we'd be able to work together. And I worked with people. Interestingly, all the people I used to really push, okay, are now great friends with me, and they are my village, as I call them. Okay, and while I forgot, about them, or we didn't stay in touch over the last 10, 12 years, I've had multiple numbers, of ex-colleagues calling me and saying, listen, you've started something of your own. Can we work together? And I always tell them that, have you forgotten the time, I used to sort of get after you and made you really, really run, and made you really, really, pushed you very hard. And they look back and tell me, listen, that was the best thing somebody did for us. and and
Beautiful.
that's
Hmm.
and that is something which has really helped me, because I've been able to create a kind of a village around me, wherein people know that, together we will do something which will be interesting. We'll have fun doing it, and nobody will be trying to steal anybody's credit. Okay, I
Right.
always tell my team, Vasudha, there can be no winners in a losing team, and there can be
Agree. Yes.
right? And there can be, no winners in a losing team, and there can be no losers in a winning team. I
Oh,
always tell them. I
wow.
always tell them. So
Yeah.
that's how it's helped me sort of, get to a stage where I can now sit back, think, and people just, we just come together, and we're able
Hmm.
to pull off the biggest of projects with relative ease and great fun.
Wow. All the best. Keep
Yes.
rocking.
Thank you so much.
Uh, you know what, Vishesh? Uh, I have noticed, और भी ऐसे conversations हुए मेरे. So I've noticed one thing uh, common amongst all the leaders, where they have shared that how having someone who can push you to doing things even you don't know about yourself has kind of always changed things for them. And I think because they have been on the receiving end of that kind of kindness or leadership has turned them into great leaders. So I feel I have come to this kind of conclusion. Of course, there's nothing conclusive in this life, so, but still, this is something common I've found amongst all the conversations I've had, that they've all had someone who's believed in them a little more than them, and that's what has given them the courage. Because you need courage to. It's so difficult to trust yourself. Trusting others is altogether a different game. So leaders are people who trust. So I think that's something I've found very universal in all the conversations so far, and I find it very I find this a very exciting kind of discovery.
I think it's I now that you say it, I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, you're in a great spot, right? You are sort of, having meaningful conversations about leadership, and you're meeting multiple leaders, to understand their point of view. And
Right.
yes, I think leaders need to be pushed. Okay, I think leaders who don't want to be pushed are not leaders.
Right.
So,
They have
all
been
of us.
pushed. They have been pushed, and therefore they know that this pushing is also an art. And I see when I talk to them that how, like you telling me how you are pushing your team, you're persuading them into giving their best when you say that there's no loser in a winning team.
True.
So I see that. I see that. And that's some great practice. Keep going.
So now that you say it, Vasudha, it's very interesting. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Because I think all the leaders I've been inspired with have been able to create a kind of an atmosphere in the team where
Hmm.
anyone from within the team can
Hmm.
get up and challenge a leader.
Wow.
Okay. And I think once you give that kind of confidence, you are inspiring competition within the team. So I always tell
Hmm.
this, okay, uh, you know, uh, so see what happens is when a youngster walks into a team. Okay,
Hmm.
the the one thing he's most or she is most scared of is failure.
Hmm.
Okay, and I think for leaders it's very important to sit their teams down from time to time and repeat it again and again, that guys, you try your best. If you fail, the failure is mine. If
Hmm.
you win, then we win. I think that's a trait which really gets teams going. you have to isolate them from the fear, from the fear of, failure of fear. Okay, that's
Yes.
like you have to do. And I think all great leaders do that. And I
Yes.
think you're right. You're right. I think they get pushed all the time.
Right. Yes. That's true. Oh, okay. I don't want to just get lost here. I'm so easy to get lost. Okay, so tell us now about, we're talking about all good things, being pushed and being inspired, being motivated. So tell me a mistake you made and how has self-awareness actually helped you understand, oh my God, what have I done? I kind of screwed up. And awareness of self has actually helped you turn your mistake into a lesson or maybe something even bigger? How did you turn around things with your sense of awareness?
Oh, it was pretty recent, right? So when I decided to hang my boots, with the Times Group and move out, I think the biggest mistake was imagining that my entrepreneurial journey will begin with the same ease and will go at the same ease at which my editorial journey at Times Group was going on. I think
Oh,
I just,
Vishesh, I
you
know
know,
why I am laughing. Do you know why I am laughing?
no, I don't, but I guess you would have made the same mistake. That's my
No,
guess.
I kind of.
Mm.
I'm an entrepreneur too, and you know what? This is gonna be an ongoing journey. Let me tell you. Okay, start loving it.
I I have realized it. So the first couple of meetings I went for, okay, went in a very different direction. Okay, I wasn't prepared for it, right? Because when you're coming with the legacy of a big brand,
Hmm.
there's a certain amount of you know uh, accomplishment that has already been done, right? When you walk into a meeting,
You
right?
proved
And
yourself already. You're not
true,
here to
you
prove yourself anymore.
completely right. And when you go as an entrepreneur, okay, I think it's a different ball game altogether. So pretty much, I think into the first 3 months, I realized that all the planning that I had done in my head, okay, while moving out from my regular stable job into the world of entrepreneurship, all that was rubbish. I had to sort of throw it out into the dustbin, and I had to start afresh. And now that I look back in the last 1.5 years, uh, I think Vasudha, it's pretty much what we've discussed through the course of this podcast. Uh, I had a challenge in front of me, and I said, okay, how can I go above this particular challenge and look back and say, okay, fine, that was fun. I got past it, right? So I think the second part was having the right people. I very quickly realized that today's workforce, especially the younger workforce, they're very different from us. Okay, when I was a young guy, I was a very different worker in a team. I was a very different co-worker. I had different ways of expressing my adulation to my seniors. Okay, today I know you work with a lot of young people, and we know, okay, young people don't give a rat's ass about experience. They don't give anything about age. They don't give anything about titles. Okay, I think you've got to earn their respect.
True.
Okay, and I tried to build and put together a team of people who could do the job, irrespective of where they were from, what they did, what was their age. And I think basically the journey has been good till now. I enjoy it. It's like a choppy sea. But again, I think at the end of the day, when you sit back and you say that, okay, fine, I've been able to co create value for our partners, and sort of get them to sort of go ahead in their vision or in their pursuit of whatever is that they're pursuing. I think that works well. So as you said, the learning is still going. I'm learning on a daily basis, and I'm sure I will continue to learn on a daily basis. And as long as I enjoy that learning, I would not exchange this for anything else in the world.
Beautiful. That's what inspires a lot of respect for leaders and entrepreneurs. somewhere, somehow, they have the nerves of steel. They can keep going. Now, that's what sets them apart from the crowd.
True. Well said.
Yeah. So, okay, tell me, what's the best piece of it? You're talking so much about the leadership you have been under and with. So, I want you to share with us the best piece of advice you received from them and how it has changed your game of life altogether.
So I've had some wonderful friends, okay,
Hmm.
who I met in the middle of my career. So about 10, 15 years into my career, I
Mm-hmm.
met them and they were wonderful. They didn't box me with kid gloves. They delivered real boxes to me. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
they, they really gave
Real
me blows.
leaders.
Yes, they really gave me blows. I think the best piece of advice that I got at, uh, you know, 10 years, 12 years into my career was, uh, when you have a problem or when you have a task to do, okay, and when you're given a task, a responsibility, you have to do that task, okay, and doing that task means getting it done. Okay, I think a lot of youngsters, and we make this mistake, that when we're given a task, a responsibility, the first hurdle we come across, we stop. And when my boss asks me, I will say, but he didn't do it or she didn't do it. Hence, I wasn't able to do it. Okay. I think you have to finish a task. If he didn't do it, then you had to motivate him or her to do it. If
True.
somebody said no, then you had to get them to say yes to do it. I think that's one big piece of advice I got, which turned my whole worldview, apart. The second bit of advice that I got was never ever look at anything from your perspective. Always look at it from the perspective of the person you're doing it for. Okay, and that sounds simple, but it's very difficult to practice. Okay, and it takes years and years of sort of going along that path to understand. So today, when a partner comes to us and says, this is what I want to do, our whole effort is to understand how and what does he want to accomplish, and begin from there and then plan the whole journey. And then it's easier, because it's very easy to be the expert and sit back and say, no, this is how it's done and this is how I'll do it. Okay, but then you're limiting the scope of your work to what you think is right. I think the
Right.
moment you start looking at it from the perspective of somebody you're doing it for, okay, you are again, like you said, pushing yourself to deliver and pushing yourself to accomplish. And I think that's it for me.
So excellent. Excellent. So, on that note, that's the advice you were given. I want to hear what advice you have to give to the aspiring leaders and vis cultivating self awareness. How important is having the sense of self awareness to grow in the career?
So I think there are two things that are happening, Vasudha. First is that the world is changing. Okay,
Hmm.
it was always changing, and the pandemic really sort of took it to another level. So
Bilkul.
I think any aspiring young leader, I would
Hmm.
not tell them to plan for 20 years, 30 years, not even 10 years. Okay.
True.
My
I to
suggestion,
feel, Vishesh, we are living in an age where having a 5 year plan is also is
completely,
deadly. Is
I
deadly.
completely agree. So I tell this to all the youngsters, and that's what my suggestion will be. I think if you're planning on being a successful leader in any field,
Uh
okay,
huh.
you have to have a view of 5 years.
Hmm.
Okay. And in those 5 years, you have to constantly keep abreast, because in 5 years, the world would have changed. Okay.
Right.
So you have to be agile, you have to be flexible, you have to be ready to adapt to change. And
Hmm.
that leadership attribute will help you survive the next 6 cycles, which is 30, 35 years of your professional life. So if you can start in small steps, you can sort of, go ahead and do wonders in your thing. The second thing is, never underestimate the value of your colleagues.
Hmm.
Okay. Never ever think that your colleagues are doing well because you are doing well. I think it's
Excellent.
absolutely the opposite. You are doing
Hmm.
well as a leader because your colleagues are doing well. And I think
Hmm.
once you have that humility and you're able to accept that fact, I think you're ready for a career for any number of years in any industry and for a long time.
You put it so beautifully, and honestly, vanity, all the leaders I have met or have observed, vanity is not their friend. It
True.
isn't. And that is why they're leaders.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
But you are because of them. They are not because of you.
Totally. Totally.
Yes. Yes. They are the ones who multiply your your vision.
True.
Awesome. Okay. So as we are moving towards the close of this podcast, we've spoken so much about awareness, and I found a common thread amongst it all while you were speaking, your empathy towards whether those were your bosses or your women or the women colleagues or even your subordinates or your teams, that you run a thread of empathy everywhere, right? So I would like you to kind of talk to this audience today and tell them how important is empathy in playing any role today, especially if they are looking up at the career ladder. How important is empathy, and what vital role can it play, and how they can develop it?
Oh wow. Okay. So I think that's a very wonderful observation. Of the thread of empathy that goes through. I think it's a wonderful observation. I didn't really look at it from that perspective. So thank you very much. I think uh, empathy, I think, gets us all connected. So when I look at my growth, okay,
Yeah.
I think it's been, I would like to share it with the team and say it's been our growth. And the reason has been that we've all had empathy for each other. Okay.
Right.
So I always, so I am very well known in my team, of people that I've worked with, of being the toughest and the easiest boss to work with. So
Hmm.
I've had situations where I have made people stay on at the workplace for uh, 23 hours, 22 hours. Okay.
Amazing.
And I've had the situation where the next day I have told them, at 12 noon, saying that, okay, last night was a late night. Why don't you go home and rest? So I think for a leader, it's really important. So I always tell this to my especially younger teammates that you got to be honest with me. Okay. If you don't feel like working on a day,
Be
just
honest.
come up and say, today I don't feel like working.
Hmm.
Or if you want to go and see, for instance, if today somebody from my team were to come and tell me that, listen, Jawan is launching and I want to go and see the Shah Rukh Khan film, okay,
Okay.
I will not stop them. I will say, go do it. Because I've been young once, I've been doing that. And I could never tell my bosses that I had to take my girlfriend out for a lunch, and hence I'm skipping office, right? Imagine that's the power of empathy. If you give youngsters that kind of
Space.
courage
Hmm.
and respect to say that, okay, you don't want to work, fine. They're going to come and put in double the effort when they are ready to put it in.
Yeah.
And I
We have to
think
let
the
them,
only
we have to let
completely,
them live. Yeah, yeah.
and once you give them that respect, okay,
Yes.
you get it back in droves, right? You will get
Yeah.
people coming and staying and doing work, etc. And the second thing that I will sort of tell everybody is that today, Vasudha, it's not the only thing that will make you successful is your followership or the number
Yes.
of people you follow. okay, as a leader.
Yes.
Okay. uh we use these fancy terms, scaling up your business. We use these fancy terms, doubling your revenue, tripling your revenue, getting all this. Okay. All
Vishesh,
this.
we are living in 10x times. No one's
Correct.
talking about doubling and tripling
True.
10x.
True. Right. So when you're talking this, right, uh there is nothing. And I have my views on this whole AI revolution that seems to be happening. Okay.
Hmm.
No amount of AI, no amount of money, no amount of capital is going to realize the vision of businesses, the growth
Yes.
vision that they have, but for the manpower you're able to accumulate.
Yes. AI
So
won't be ever able to replace the human touch and humanity, no matter what.
completely
How much so ever we can digitize or techtize things, it's
true,
never ever gonna replace that. And I think
totally
the next struggle is gonna be preserving that humanity within us. That would be the only way to
true,
live. Forget about, I'm not even saying moving forward. You would not
true.
be able to live if you cannot preserve your humanness.
That's
So
very true.
sorry, I'm sorry,
No,
I
that's very true. That's very
just
true. So
got
I think
excited with what you
for a
said.
totally for a leader, it's really important to have a tribe. For a
Hmm.
leader, it's very important to have a group of people
Hmm.
along with whom he or
Hmm.
she can move mountains. Okay.
Right.
And that's the only way to sort of, grow. You have to give
Hmm.
them respect. You have to give
Hmm.
them, knowledge. You have to keep them motivated. You've got to keep them sort of, pushing you and the goal. I think those are
Hmm.
the two things that I'd like to share with uh, all your listeners.
And yours too,
And mine too. Absolutely.
our listeners,
Our listeners. Totally.
our community.
True. True.
Yes. So, okay, this is my favorite question. I never let anyone go without sharing this with me. So, I
Okay.
know you would say, when I would say, what has been your greatest achievement? I know you would say, no, Vasudha, I am yet to achieve a lot. I don't think, blah, blah, blah. So, I'll give you grace and I would rather frame it differently and I would rather ask, as you reflect on your leadership journey, what would you say has been your greatest achievement so far? I know you're gonna make greater achievements, and that's my wish for you and TSP. But what has been your greatest achievement so far, and why?
So, in the whole spirit of keeping the amusement alive and the laughter alive, okay,
Okay.
uh,
Yes.
let me give you my greatest achievement. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, in all our lives, right, our spouses are our worst critics, right?
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
all our spouses are
It's
our
only
worst
for
critics.
men. It's so for men, not for
No,
women.
no, it's for both. There's gender parity as far as that is concerned, right? So we do. So I think both professionally and personally, and I
Hmm.
look at it professionally. I am married to somebody who's much more talented than I am. Okay.
Hmm.
And in true typical trait of being a woman, the whole talent is underestimated. Okay.
Hmm.
So, when
What do you
I think
mean
my
by that,
biggest,
Ish? That the
sorry,
talent. What do you mean when you say it is underestimated? Okay, we'll talk about this in
I,
our
no,
in some
by,
other segment.
no, I will tell you about it, right? So,
Yes.
so my wife was a journalist, okay, and
Hmm.
she is an absolute brilliant writer, okay,
Hmm.
but she doesn't think that she's a brilliant writer, okay,
Oh.
and I have dealt with writers all my life,
Hmm.
okay, and I say it not because she's my wife, I say it because I know she's a damn good writer, right?
Hmm.
But she underestimates herself, right? So this is where I said that our spouses are our worst critics. So when I
Hmm.
decided to move on after spending about 25 years in a very stable corporate, cushy job, right?
Hmm.
A
Hmm.
lot of friends told me that, listen, are you sure? Are you really sure you want to take this plunge?
Hmm.
Why are you rocking the boat, and why are you sort of doing this? And then one day, so my wife, who also happens to be my best friend, okay, we were having a chat, and I sort of asked her, and I said, listen, this is something this is the feedback that I'm getting from everyone. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Okay. And in one sentence, she just said that if it'll make you happy, you should do it and you will definitely be able to do it.
Wow.
And I
Super.
think that's the biggest win I'll see for myself,
Hmm.
both at a professional level and at a personal level. And that's one of the uh, moments of my life. You have moments in life, right, where you need that person who's supposed to be your biggest critic, stand
Cheerleader.
behind you and say that yes, you can do it. So for me, that's what I see as my biggest achievement.
Wow. That's such a beautiful story told. Wish you both lot more love and friendship.
And
May
fights
and fights, because
and
that makes it
criticisms.
grow. That makes
True,
it, yes,
totally
and yes, of course. And 10x business.
true,
So we're living in 10x age after all.
totally.
Yeah. So, Vishesh, I really had a lot of fun during this podcast. There have been a lot of eureka moments, is one thing, insights, and a lot of inspiration and understanding also for me. But more than that, I just had a lot of fun doing this podcast with you today. Thank you so much for being here and for being so awesome. Uh, Wish you and the stories people lot of good luck, not just from my side but also from the entire reboot community. May you rock even harder.
Thank you so much, Vasudha. Okay, and like it says, like it happened with us, right? We met, okay, we connected, okay, and I think you're doing such a wonderful, wonderful, job to bring stories out, to bring conversations, to inspire people. Okay, it's very easy to work with the Shah Rukh Khans of the industry. It's very easy to work with, the Akshay Kumars of the industry. I think it's the real service is in working with people, who are not known. And when I come across all your, the guests that you've invited, they're such inspiring stories. I'm going to be watching out each one of them, and I've watched each one of them. And here's to many more. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for being you, for being there as well. Thanks a ton, Vishesh. Keep rocking. Bye.
Bye bye.